Hello my dears and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon and today I've got another book talk video to share with you guys. And today we are talking about Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson. I picked this up kind of on the whim the other day when I was in the bookstore. Mainly because I was very intrigued by this title. Later I came to learn that it's been, the rights have been purchased by HBO and it's going to be made into a limited series. No word yet on who the cast is, but so I thought that's interesting that this will, you know, in time become a show as well. And I could definitely see it working well as that. So let's get into this. First of all, this is a mystery. I don't read a ton of mysteries. I'm more of a character girl, less of a plot girl. So I prefer character-driven stories. But again, very intriguing title. And Benjamin Stevenson, from what I can tell, is a comedian and writer, obviously from Australia. And you can definitely feel the comedian coming through in this, is the best way to word it. I guess I'll also say if you enjoyed the Knives Out movie, like Knives Out and Glass Onion, you'd probably enjoy this as well. It has a kind of similar sort of feel, but in a different kind of way. Anyway, let's just get into it. I'll give you a bit of a synopsis, then before I give any spoilers, I'll let you know you can beat it out of here if you don't want to hear the spoilers, and for the rest of you, you can just keep on listening. So, this book is about a man named Ernest, who is on his way, reluctantly, to a family reunion. He's a teacher and he writes books about detective novels and mystery novels. So, as he's writing this book, it's written in such a way that it's kind of conversational. It's like he's talking directly to us. And there are some parts where he's like, he tells us, like on the very first page here, it says up in the corner, I don't know if you can see it, it says fold here, because he knew we'd be referencing it as the book went on. And this is 10 Commandments of Detective Fiction from a 1929 book called Ronald Knox's 10 Commandments of Detective Fiction. So like some of the commandments are, number 1, the criminal must be someone mentioned in the early part of the story, but must not be anyone whose thoughts the reader is allowed to follow. What else? The detective must not himself commit the crime. Twin brothers and doubles generally must not appear unless we have been duly prepared for them. So like those sort of things. I thought that was really interesting and really cute. And then he basically starts off the book by telling us that he promises not to be an unreliable narrator. Right at the beginning, he tells us on what pages the deaths are going to come. So like he tells us at one point that there's going to be a death on page 14. And then when we get to page 14, as something's building up, he says, remember what page it is. You know there's going to be a death on this page. I just thought it was really cute. And he talks about how he wants to avoid all the cliches of like murder mystery books. So like, you know, someone's phone runs out of battery and he says, well, that does happen here, but not until page 280. And so the book is referencing itself. It's talking to us. And I just thought it was really cute in that way. So I'm getting off track here. So Ernest is going to a family reunion up in the woods at this sort of resort. It's going to be snowy. And we learn right at the beginning that Ernie's brother, Michael, is about to be getting out of jail. He's been in jail for 3 years because of a crime that he committed, but that Ernie, had sort of turned his brother in because he felt like it was the right thing to do. So now Michael, the brother, is getting out of jail and they're all going to be meeting at this resort to be together for the first time in a lot of years. And from there, it just kind of spirals into a whodunit, because as soon as they arrive at the resort, there's a death. That's the one on page 14. And it's trying to figure out who did it. As we learn about the history of all of these family members, Ernie gives us chapters dedicated to each one where we like I said, just learn about them. Learn more about, well, like the title says, everyone in my family has killed someone. So telling us the background to this, to each of their murders, essentially. And I just thought it was really fun. It's fast-paced. It's easy to get through. If you like mysteries, I would definitely recommend this. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan. I don't read a lot of mysteries, but I gave this one 4 stars. I thought it was a lot of fun. And how many more times am I going to say fun in this review? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Anyway, so yeah, it just becomes trying to figure out who the killer is, as everyone is, or as many people are ending up dead during this weekend getaway with this family who's reunited after many years. And that's all I can really say without getting into any spoilers. So, like I said, now's the time to click off if you don't want any spoilers. But again, I don't really know even how many spoilers I'm going to get into, mainly because I would have to tell you so much. We'd be here for an hour at least, and we don't want to do that today, but so beat it. For those of you that are sticking around, I'll tell you a little bit about sort of more of the guts of the story. So one of the things that we know is that the patriarch of this family, his name was Robert, he was murdered when Ernest and Michael, the brothers, when they were very young, because he was involved in criminal activity. He wasn't a greedy criminal. He more or less would commit crimes when his family was in need, when he needed to put food on the table or a roof over their heads. And then we find out that eventually he was working with the police. He was trying to get out of this life, and something goes wrong during one of the jobs that he's doing, and he ends up murdered. And it's a whole thing. So he's dead. There's a now new stepfather. His name is Marcello, and we learn that he knew their father beforehand. He's a lawyer, so and so the mom and him had been together many years at this point. We also learned that there was a third brother. There was Ernest and Michael and another brother, Jeremy. And originally we're told that Jeremy died when they were very young, that there was a terrible accident, that the mom had one day left the 3 kids in the car. And when she came back, she'd forgotten that they were in the car. When she came back to the car, Jeremy had died. We later find out that that's not the case. Jeremy was actually kidnapped from the car, being held for ransom because the criminals thought that the mom had information that they needed. She didn't have the information, and she had maintained that, but they kidnapped the son anyway because they're like, well, now we'll know for sure, because we're going to tell her if she doesn't give us what we need, we're going to kill this kid. And that's what she and the whole family think happened. Although she had really kept that a secret for a long time. Anyway. So like I said, there's a lot of murders start happening at the resort over the weekend that they're there. And one of the local police officers come, and he's trying to help figure out what's going on. But kind of right off the bat, you get the idea that he's not very good at this. And there's a reason as to why that is that we find out right at the end. And so Michael arrives, and he's surprisingly happy to see Ernest. He thought maybe Michael would be very upset with him for having turned him in, but he says, "No, you know what, Ernest? No, I needed this time away. I needed to be in jail where I could figure out my life, get myself back on track." And the reason Michael was in jail was for a murder that happens right at the beginning of the book, which he did commit, but it's a long story. And it was a bad guy he was killing. And so Marcello, their stepfather, like I said, he's a lawyer, so he managed to finagle a lighter sentence for Michael. That's why he only got 3 years. So then as the book goes on, more and more people are dropping like flies. Eventually even Michael, the brother that just got out of prison, he ends up dead. And how a lot of these people are dying is they're found with ash in their mouth. It's like they're locked in somewhere. Like Michael he was locked in a room because the police officer had locked him in because as soon as Michael arrived, the police officer was like, are you Michael Cunningham? He's like, yes. He's like, I have reason to believe you were involved in this murder. The one that happens right at the beginning of their stay. I'm sure this all sounds very confusing if you haven't read the book yet. But anyway, it's not going to be much longer. We're getting to the end here. So they're put in rooms. Ash is sort of fed in through vents, and they choke on it. So Michael ends up dead. And Michael's ex-wife ends up dead. Like, they're just dropping like flies. And eventually we get to the end, and we learn in what was very surprising when we first get the first reveal that it's the police officer doing these crimes. I wasn't too surprised because you're trying to figure out who done it. So we get to the police officer. I'm like, okay. But then the twist that did get me that I did not see coming was that the police officer, okay, was the third brother, Jeremy, who got kidnapped from the car all those years ago, 30 odd years ago. And so it ends up that the criminals hadn't killed him as they had threatened to do, but instead they found him a new family. Eventually he finds out that he was adopted, and we learn that there's always been something off with him. He's always been off, and very violent killing. And so he heard in the newspaper that Michael, who he now knows is his brother, was in jail for murder. So he thinks, this family is my family. They're just like me. They're just like me. They're, you know, cold-blooded killers. So he goes off in search of them, but then he learns that they're not like that. Like everyone in my family has killed someone. It's accidents, or it's, in some cases, themselves. Like, so he gets there, he hears Michael saying to Ernst, like, I needed this time in jail. It got me to get my life together. And then that was when Jeremy kind of snaps and he's like, they're not like me after all, and goes on a bit of a killing spree. So, but yeah, that twist that Jeremy was a police officer, that got me. I did not see that coming. Anyway, so from there, Jeremy kind of snaps again, and he's trying to set the hotel, like the resort that they're staying in, on fire so that they're all going out together in his mind. But of course they end up being able to get out. Jeremy gets killed in the process, and the rest of them make it out of there in one piece. So yeah, like I said, a fun book. And you're probably not getting that from the way I'm telling you, but the way that it's written is very lighthearted. A little dark, of course, because of the subject matter, but lighthearted at the same time. Very funny. There were a few times I chuckled. And like I said, if you like the Knives Out movies, you'd probably like this as well. So yeah, that, you guys, is going to do it for me for today. It's been a while since I filmed a video. I feel rusty at it right now because I had some dental work early last week, and then later in the week, two of my husband's best friends from Michigan, where he's originally from, flew in, and we just had a great time with them. Although for most of the days I stayed home because I was having some pain left over from the dental work, but it was just a great time. He had such a wonderful time seeing them. It really did him good. It lifted his spirit so much, and that's always so nice, isn't it? So yeah, there's gonna be a bunch of videos coming up. I got Mona Awad's latest book, All's Well, I'm going to be doing a book talk on, plus a bunch of spoiler-free reviews for a lot of really exciting books, and I can't wait to share it all with you. So I will see you guys again real soon. Bye!